If there are any creatures capable of defeating Komodo dragons, we haven't discovered them yet. These scary looking monsters dominate any environment they exist in, and unfortunately for wild boars, they really enjoy eating them, which is exactly what we're about to see today. Out of nowhere, a gigantic Komodo dragon set its sights on a baby boar here, and he approached it slowly. The terrified little boar stood still, and was hoping the Komodo wouldn't notice it. But once it reached it, the poor little creature started running as fast as it could. But it wasn't fast enough to get away from the deadly monster. The dragon's jaws clamped down on the poor thing, and in a glimpse of an eye, the boar was gobbled up. What a terrifying ending that must have been. These Komodo dragons weren't messing with the wild boars for once. Typically, the dragons would just go on a killing spree in a situation like this, but these guys weren't doing that for some reason. I'm not sure if it's because they have something else to eat, or if they're full, or if the boar's numbers intimidated them. But I'm glad they didn't attack one another. Having already poisoned the poor boar, the outcome of this battle was already decided. The Komodo was going to devour the helpless creature. But even while poisoned and unable to move, the boar still had a lot of fight in it. The Komodo was having a bit of trouble trying to find the right angle to consume the boar since it was so big. But it had all the time in the world to figure it out. The boar wasn't going anywhere. Take a look at this massive Komodo dragon that was able to ambush a wild boar. It was doing its best to try and drag it away. But the understandably freaked out boar was moving frantically and making the Komodo's job a bit hard. But no matter how hard it tried, the poor boar would always end up in the Komodo's jaws. And before you know it, the scuffle was over. Patiently waiting for the poison to take full effect, this Komodo knew that its lunch wasn't going anywhere, and it was willing to let the boar die before beginning to consume it, which is exceptionally merciful for these creatures, as you know. I have no idea what these two were trying to eat, but the Komodo dragon clearly didn't want to share. The boar was a huge one, and it was being aggressive as well. But since the Komodo didn't want to kill it, but still wanted it to go away, it struck it with its tail instead of trying to bite it. Here's another gigantic Komodo trying to swallow its prey whole. It isn't very easy for these greedy monsters to swallow prey. They're not like pythons or anacondas. They use a different technique. Instead of slowly engulfing their prey, they hold them in their jaws and then ram them into the ground or into a wall to force them in. Here's a more clear example of that. This Komodo was having a real hard time trying to fit a relatively big boar down its throat, and it started slamming it against a nearby rock to try and break its bones and also force it inside its mouth. But the boar was too big apparently, and it looked like it was going to take it some time to fit that thing in. Baby boars are treated just as brutally by these monsters. This one met a truly horrific fate at the hands of a hungry dragon that was too eager to get the little one down its throat. The poor boar was screaming at the top of its lungs, but there was no way out for the helpless animal. Thankfully, this boar was already dead when the dragon reached it, but that didn't stop the vicious monster from doing its worst. It attacked the boar like it was a debt collector, inflicting as much damage as it could before finally consuming it. Hearing the screams of a small wild boar, this guy ran into the woods with his camera to see what was happening. Upon reaching the scene, he discovered an enormous Komodo dragon that had captured a young wild boar and was trying to swallow it whole. The poor boar was absolutely terrified, trying its best to break free from the deadly lizard's jaws, but that clearly wasn't going to happen. And even if it did, the boar was already dead as a result of the venom, so it wouldn't have mattered. Being difficult to kill or consume actually works against any unfortunate creatures that happen to cross paths with our ruthless friends here. Komodo dragons aren't particularly good at killing their meals quickly or in the most merciful ways to begin with. And when prey is hard to kill, it only ends up getting tortured to death for a longer period of time before finally dying and getting swallowed by these beasts. This Komodo dragon moved with the stealth of a ninja, using its camouflage to sneak up on an unsuspecting wild boar. The dragon then struck, latching onto the boar with its powerful jaws. The boar put up a fight, but it was no match for the dragon's iron grip. In no time, the whole thing was over. The dragon dragged its prey into the underbrush and gulped it down whole. Nothing's able to survive these cold-blooded beasts, it seems. A guy was wandering through the woods and happened to stumble upon a couple of relatively young wild boars here. The man was excited and he got his phone out and he started recording them. After the boars left, he happened to stumble upon one of them again after a bit of time. Only this time, the poor thing was being consumed by a gigantic Komodo dragon. It isn't clear if the dragon had killed the other one as well, but I hope that it was able to get away. While trying to consume a wild boar before properly killing it, this Komodo dragon almost got bitten in the face. It was biting the helpless creature and trying to figure out how to fit all of it in its mouth. But as soon as it let go for a second, the boar immediately tried to bite it, and it only missed by an inch. Screaming was all that this boar was capable of, as the unbelievably huge Komodo was trying to consume it. The Komodo's bite force is insanely strong, by the way, and it was probably breaking that poor boar's bones as it tried to keep it under control. There was no way out though, and the unfortunate creature had to just take it and hope for death to end its suffering. Getting sick in the wild is one of the worst things that could happen to any creature. It's basically a death sentence, but a very slow and painful one. As you can see here, this boar was laying on the ground, barely able to move. It's unclear what was wrong with it, but it seemed pretty bad. The Komodo didn't care though. All it saw was an easy to catch meal, and it immediately attacked it. The Komodo dragon was the one laying motionless here. The boar obviously didn't kill it, and I don't think it was sleeping, so maybe it just died out of boredom, since there were no creatures capable of challenging it in the entire wilderness. Maybe that's the way to defeat these creatures, bore them to death. Bore as in boredom, not as in wild boar, so no pun there. All that this Komodo needed to go into light speed mode was to see a meal. As soon as the greedy lizard spotted its target, it rushed towards it with the speed of a moving bullet. It was very accurate as well, capturing the poor creature in its jaws directly after reaching it, making escape impossible for the unfortunate goat.
Did you enjoy this video? Please let us know in the comments section down below. And don't forget to leave us a like and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. And please, turn on your notifications bell to get notified when we upload a new video. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.